Excellencies, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. On behalf of His Excellency, the Chief Executive Officer of the Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit, ISEC, I would like to welcome you all to the OIC Business Intelligence Center Obic Capacity Building Program on the role of credit information sharing, business intelligence in supporting trade and investment decisions. We thank you all for gracing our occasion, and it's indeed a great pleasure to have you all. Before we start our program, let us listen to a recitation of the Holy Quran. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. The Obic Business Intelligence Center aims to provide an accessible and affordable information and credit data on business across the Organization of Islamic Corporation. With honor, I would like to welcome His Excellency, the CEO of ISEC, Mr. Usama Qaisi, to present his opening remarks.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A warm welcome to all of you. And specifically, I would like to welcome our guests that have traveled to the kingdom, and they are coming from our member states and accepted this invitation extended by ISEC to attend the first capacity building program for the OIC Business Intelligence Center, Obic. I'll start first to have a link between this program and the Article of Agreements and the mandate of ISEC that mandates us with the objective to enlarge the scope of trade, transactions, and the flow of investment among our member states. To fulfill these obligations and this objective, and to carry out our day-to-day business activities, ISEC, as an export credit agency and financial institution, because we are financial mediators as well, we're not just a mere insurance institution. We need, in our day-to-day business, to assess the risks of the transactions that we are underwriting. This task that we undertake depends significantly on the availability and easy access to reliable financial and credit information reports, and this sometimes presents a challenge that has persisted for a long time for us and for our member states in the OIC to collect reliable credit information. According to the World Bank data, the credit information systems in the OIC member countries remains far behind the global standards. And this is something that we will hear from our speaker today, our brother Rafi ad-Din Sheikh, more information about these issues that are at the global level and the OIC level. And when we go back to the World Bank data, it shows that the private credit bureau coverage estimates that 15.5% of the total adult population in contracts to 66.8% in the OECD are bankable. From that premise, at ISEC, we found that it is imperative to initiate a dialogue with the OIC member countries' policymakers to discuss the feasibility of establishing an OIC Business Intelligence Center. Ladies and gentlemen, from the challenges relating to the lack of credit information in the OIC member countries, the need arose for the creation and development of an OIC Business Intelligence Center intending to allow both private and public stakeholders to access, gather, store, and analyze corporate data to assist in making accurate and timely business decisions. Other factors that we face in our day-to-day business decision-making, we have to consider in our initial studies data collection and analysis. And this is where the core roots lies, that there is an absence of data to collect and to analyze. So the basic premise of the OIC Business Center, it will be to create a platform where we are going to gather the data and to analyze it. Us as practitioners on the insurance side or at the level of the financial institutions, we have to use this data in order for us to assess the credit risk that we are undertaking. Similarly, we have to look for solutions to mitigate these risks that we are undertaking. From all of this, hopefully we will get to build a customer credit profiling that we will be using in order for us to undertake our day-to-day business activities that, as I mentioned. Similarly, at the level of the governments and the policymakers, all of this information would help them maintain the sanctity of the economy, and this is while they are analyzing debt restructuring in case of economic windfall, and similarly study the involvement of party exposures that they are taking at the level of the banks and ultimately at the level of the whole banking industry. Countries as well can study and look the exposure for the non-performing loans, the NPLs, and the outstanding analyses that would look at the portfolio credit exposure as a whole. All of this would lead us to a bigger picture than the credit information system to start data mining and knowledge retrieval that also are available and valuable to the business segment. So after multiple internal and external consultations with stakeholders, it was evident that the original scope has to be widened to include setting up an OIC Business Intelligence Center where tackling the deficiencies in the availability of business intelligence data is needed to enable decision-making at the government and corporate levels, in other words, to become a part of the policy-making process. One of the motivations for ISEC to progress with the Obic initiative is to benefit from its vast experience in the credit information management and to replicate the success story that is achieved while establishing the Aman Union database established by ISEC and other founding members in the Muslim and Arab world of the Aman Union in December of 2013. We believe at ISEC that digitization for development through trade and investment must be a core ongoing objective for all stakeholders, especially governments, development agencies, export credit agencies, corporate and customers. And digitization is also a key driver in addition to automation of trade and post-trade services, which has proliferated in recent decades alongside the significant advances in fintech. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the global transition towards a digital and information-based economy. But uneven access to new technologies has already resulted in a digital divide and inequality. In many OIC member countries, the implementation of digital strategies remain embryonic, and this could be enhanced by adopting technological solutions launched by various providers as integrated service solutions and platforms. No doubt that the strong support and commitment from OIC and COMSEC at all levels of decision-making fora, committees, and ministerial sessions since 2017 for the Obic initiative is a clear direction that the Obic, when realized, will be an ultimate solution for the data and information mining challenges in the OIC member countries. The Obic aims to provide a framework to guide analytical-based development in OIC member countries, and it focuses on strengthening national data platforms. It intends to contribute to improved development outcomes and good governance by guiding and accelerating sustainable data capacity building activities. It helps in particular to focus on strategic directions and appropriate implementation of instruments to improve the planning, financing, management, and coordination of data mining activities motivated by the need for reliable and up-to-date data for better measuring, monitoring, and managing for development results. One of the main objectives as well of the capacity building program we are undertaking for the next couple of days is to create, enhance, and develop constituents' capacity at the country level to establish internal capacity, create awareness, and induce activities for learning and problem solving in the current context of globalization and the fourth industrial revolution, be it the next phase in the digitization of the manufacturing and production sectors, driven by disruptive trends, including the rise of data and connectivity, analytics, human-machine interaction, and improvements in robotics. Finally, I seize this opportunity to thank the Islamic Development Bank for their continuous support and our partners in the implementation of the Obic, SESRIC, the Statistical, Economic, and Social Research and Training Center for the Islamic countries of the OIC, and similarly to ICDT, the Islamic Center for the Development of Trade, and ICCIA, the Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industry, and Agriculture. It is also an opportunity for me today to call upon the support of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Republic of Turkey, and the Republic of Indonesia for the Obic initiative, as the three member countries named were named to host the three pilot hubs of the Obic in its first stage of implementation. And we are confident of receiving whatever support and cooperation required from concerned authorities in these countries. I bid you a pleasant stay in the Bride of the Red Sea, the city of Jeddah. I wish you a blessed month of Ramadan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I have the pleasure now to welcome the Director General of the Department of Economic Affairs, Secretary General of OIC, Mr. Naji Jabarov, to present his keynote speech.
Your Excellency, Mr. Usama Kaisi, Chief Executive Officer, of the Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investment and Export Credit, ISEC, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to address this opening session of the capacity building program for users of the OIC Business Intelligence Center, Obic, which is holding in the headquarters of IDB. At the outset, I wish to express my gratitude to His Excellency Mr. Osama Kaisi and staff members of ISEC for the organization of this important capacity building program. As you know, the OIC Business Intelligence Center aims to provide accessible and affordable information and credit data on business across the OIC. This initiative was proposed in a first concept note at the 33rd session of the GOMSEC held in Istanbul, Turkey in November 2017. The 38th GOMSEC session held in Istanbul, Republic of Turkey in November 2022 took note of the proposal of ISEC, CESRIC, ICCIA, and ICDT to organize the capacity building activities for potential beneficiaries of the program and requested the ISEC and other relevant OIC institutions to implement the capacity building activities at the earliest. The vision of the OBIC is to provide OIC member states with the best-in-class business growth and risk management intelligence ecosystem. The OBIC will also set up the legal framework governing the collation, treatment, and sharing of business information in concordance with its private and public stakeholders. Through its pillars, the OBIC will help OIC member states develop and enhance their individual credit reporting ecosystems, build a comprehensive OIC-wide business intelligence infrastructure, develop a capacity of OIC countries as it relates to credit reporting, and catalyze a sustainable business model. I wish all of you a resounding success in your deliberations. I am sure that your contributions during this event will provide an important feedback to the policy-making process and contribute to the efforts of ISEC for the successful implementation of its initiative. I thank you for your kind attention. Wassalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Najri. As mentioned earlier, the OBIC is an initiative of ISEC since 2017. The OBIC objective is to create a shared platform through the OIC member countries, provide a cross-board credit registry, and link credit services, compile and coordinate data in the processes, and offer a diversity and capacity training program services while efficiently and effectively adopting a modern system of credit reporting. Please join us in watching this video.
The rapid growth of credit information systems around the world has led to more symmetry between borrowers and financial institutions than ever. But credit information systems in OIC countries remain far behind global standards. In 2019, private credit bureau coverage was estimated at 15.5% compared to the OECD's 66.8%. Based on their credit intelligence, 4 quadrants of financial maturity levels have been identified in OIC markets. The potential benefits of improving credit information systems in OIC areas could be vast, including an estimated $220 billion boost in private sector lending, an estimated 8% reduction in rates of non-performing loans, an increase in foreign direct investments, improved trade within the OIC countries, and economic inclusion and empowerment for everyone. Introducing OIC Business Intelligence Center, or OBIC, a cutting-edge platform that aims to drive economic transformation, anchored in its support of ISDB Group's mission of enabling innovative infrastructure to drive economic and social progress. OBIC will be a scaled multilateral solution built upon the IC's work with the sovereigns, global partners and solution providers, with solutions tailored to the maturity level of each country's credit ecosystem. We look to offer a solution bundle comprised of two key categories: capacity building and credit intelligence delivery, with a total of 10 related service offerings. We envision a hub and spoke approach with 4 regional groupings across the OIC regions, covering South and Southeast Asia, MENA and Eastern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa and Caribbean, and Central Asia and Europe. This will enable full regional credit intelligence coverage, including consideration for official languages. As a crucial part of our implementation strategy, Obic will be initiating pilot programs with select member states to test and apply our services and demonstrate our value for local communities, regional economies, and the world. Obic will successfully boost OIC credit lending, foreign direct investments, and intra-OIC trade, broadening the facilitation of financial inclusion and bringing greater prosperity to OIC members and the world. If you are an Obic hub interested in learning more or being part of the initial pilot programs, we welcome you to reach out.
Now, I have the pleasure to welcome the CEO and Managing Director of Dinar Standards, Mr. Rafi'uddin Sheikhu, to present and deliver his presentation on OIC.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I'd like to thank Your Excellency Osama Kaisi for inviting me to have been part of this very visionary project and to share some of the background context to the business case of Obic. And I'd like to welcome all of the attendees in terms of benefiting from this program today. Dear brothers and sisters, as we look at the term business intelligence, I can't help but first start with throwing out the latest buzz that's going around the world, which is ChatGPT. If I can just see a raise of hands, how many of you are curious about ChatGPT or have heard of ChatGPT? And as you all may know, the new ChatGPT 4 has also come out, and it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Do you think there is relevance in all of our works to the role of this manifestation of AI that we're seeing coming to life in the world? Most certainly. I'd like to read a quote from Morgan Stanley's Wealth Management Chief Data Officer, because Morgan Stanley has actually started using ChatGPT already. I quote him, "You essentially, through ChatGPT, which they have incorporated in their wealth management decisioning," the MS's chief data officer said, "you essentially have the knowledge of the most knowledgeable person in wealth management instantly. Think of it as having our chief investment strategist, global economist, global equity strategist, and every other analyst around the world on a call for every advisor every day. We believe that is a transformative capability for a company." Now, my dear brothers and sisters, certainly this is mind-boggling and thrilling, but we also know, and if I may ask, how many of you seen the potential negative and the fears of such tools, right? So we've seen all the fake videos and how fake information can be disseminated. Do we think this has relevance to our work as credit specialists or trade facilitators or investors facilitators? I believe we certainly do. Ladies and gentlemen, as an Islamically driven organization that you are, Islamic economic principles put tremendous emphasis on knowledge, right? We know the emphasis of ilm is emphasized in terms of driving excellence through knowledge and achieving good beneficial knowledge that will be of value. We're also, knowledge is emphasized in context of truthfulness. So I believe as the world is evolving with these tools and technologies, the role of this project, your role in bringing a wider perspective to the application of the technology such as artificial intelligence and others will not only benefit us within our OIC ecosystem, but also could be a potential value add in this global development that we're seeing. So with that, I've been tasked to share with you a little bit of a background about Obic's business case, that the vision of His Excellency Osama and ISIC and the support of all of the ISDB entities is taking it forward today. So my storyline for the presentation today is to share with you first the why. Why is the Obic needed? I will share with you then how best to apply looking at the global best practices. And then go over a summary of what Obic plans to do. And you saw a lot of it shared initially by His Excellency Osama, and the video also highlighted some of them. Let's start with the why. As was highlighted, credit intelligence today is playing a major role in socioeconomic growth. We know through various evidences, and we're just highlighting a few of the key ones. Number one, most importantly, when it comes to socioeconomic impact, we know it will enable and it supports enabling bringing the 2 billion plus unbanked and underserved individuals as well as SMEs, which are key stakeholders to many of you out here. Credit intelligence also increases private sector lending, and approximately 47.5% of GDP as reported by research. Again, all of this is referenced in the ISIC's report on Obic that can be downloaded, all of the details and sources and references from their website. It increases lending volumes by 11% as per a report out of US, good, mature, effectively working credit intelligence and its ecosystem. It reduces non-performing loans by 7.75% as per a study in Latin America. And these are just some of the key reasons why having an effective credit intelligence ecosystem is important for all our economies. Globally, when we look at the data value chain or intelligence value chain, credit intelligence is a key part of the data value chain today. However, it is underlooked and underappreciated, especially when it comes to our OIC member countries. So I'll share with you some data points, but the key point in our analysis of how credit information in OIC member countries exists today is overall it is underdeveloped, I shouldn't say undeveloped. Actually, there's been a lot of progress past 5-6 years, but still quite underdeveloped relative to global best practices. Inaccuracy in credit recording is also an issue, even though the initiative has started. There is an inadequate credit reporting system, both from the private sector and the public sector side. And the need to apply reliable, innovative business intelligence centers are a prerequisite to credit intelligence, and those are also lacking. So when we looked at the OIC, and you saw some of the references, and this is a little bit of an updated data, the OIC regions registry coverage is only at 20.2% of the adult population in 2019. This is relative to 66%, and you saw this data earlier. We break this down further by recognizing that not all OIC member countries have the similar economic profile, and certainly when it comes to credit intelligence and credit ecosystem maturity. So we analyzed the 57 member countries, and we segmented them into 4 quadrants. And these 4 quadrants represent the different maturity levels based on countries with over 50% population that have coverage in public registry or Tier A. Tier B are countries that represent only 10 to 50%. Tier C, 1 to 9%, Tier D, 0%. And this is obviously fast evolving, but it helps us understand how best can Obic serve the different member countries based on where they are in the maturity. So we know Tier D member countries have a different need in terms of developing their credit intelligence ecosystem versus Tier A, who are much more established but still need efficiencies, removing of some of the challenges that exist. So now, with that background on our OIC member countries, let me share with you some of the global references that were looked at in order to develop the strategy for Obic. Credit intelligence has in fact gained significant traction since 2005 and 6. And if you can just look at the blue versus the yellow, that shows the difference of the percentage of coverage of credit reporting service providers in an economy. And if we look at OIC high income, even in 2005-6, it was 100% coverage, and that remains to be the true. As you can see in South Asia, there was a big gain. There was a big development and improvement. We see the same in MENA. And sub-Saharan African countries, you see a big boost when it comes to the credit reporting service providers available in the country. However, many of them are early in this development. And having a full, proper credit ecosystem that is maturing, that is working well, that is firing in all cylinders, as they say, is still to be worked on, especially in our OIC member countries. Across the global best practices, we identified that the hub and spoke model is relevant to cross OIC, as well as especially less developed member countries when it comes to credit ecosystem maturity. And so we have incorporated this in particular as part of the Obic strategy, and you'll see that later on. Okay, I think I'm stuck. All right. We also see globally that banking, finance, and credit insurance industries are at the heart of the fourth industrial revolution. Today, financial institutions are managing risk, are delivering faster transactions, are serving customers much better, leveraging these key, what are being termed as the fourth industrial revolution technologies, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, or being widely referred to as generative AI. Is a big part of it. Blockchain that helps with building transparency, credibility in the ecosystem, APIs, so the banking and the financial data can be cross-referenced and leveraged, cloud computing, that is the infrastructure arm. So these are some core technologies that the banking, finance, and credit insurance industries are certainly leveraging. I'll just quickly go through a few of the details in terms of global trends of big data. I'll go through them fast just to kind of highlight that certainly there's quite a maturity of understanding and application that within the OIC ecosystem we need to have of the massive opportunity of having the data that we as OIC member country, business community, SMEs and individuals create that has to be the underlying base and platform of building a credit intelligence system. This requires a new technological architecture that has to be factored in building of these systems, and Obic certainly factors that in. And having today with tools and references, I mean, AI seemed to be a far out possibility, but we are living in it already. And so this is where we see the tremendous quantum jumping in terms of our ability to deliver the advantages. And big data is characterized by large volume, and when we say large volume, terabytes, tetrabytes, I mean, I can't remember the units now that ChatGPT is based off of already that has. We also see SDGs, so the UN SDG goals and its implementation is relying on data revolution or data and intelligence as a means to have transparency, to have better policy and decision making, and certainly facilitating the impact of impact investment, which as a multilateral you're very much a big part of. So with that background and context, allow me to now quickly share with you how has Obic applied and is applying the learnings from the context of OIC's current state as well as what's happening globally. His Excellency, Your Excellency, you have already shared with the group here the journey that Obic has gone through, starting with the long road from Amman Union to the current manifestation of Obic that is going to enable member export agencies to obtain valid, timely, and cost-effective credit information. There was in terms of the journey, in 2017 in Turkey, the 34th session of COMSEC had established the first concept note that officially was endorsed to set up the Obic as an entity. Subsequently, in the follow-up committee meeting, resolutions were processed to further develop this project. And then finally, currently, we had the establishment of the feasibility that was done and to implement Obic in its current form. So in particular, when the strategy for Obic was formed, we certainly looked at, the initiative evaluated these SWOT, strength, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, based on which the structure for Obic to create a pragmatic, practical, usable solution or platform of Obic. Given the diversity of needs of OIC countries, the hub and spoke model was considered. A structured process was followed through to evaluate and identify which member countries could serve the main centers, which is what we mean by a hub, and spoke would be other supporting countries or countries who would be linked to that hub to develop different centers of the credit intelligence by region. And with that, we identified 15 hub potential countries. These are the countries that we saw in terms of maturity across the different Tier A and Tier B member countries who could be the centers across the different regional areas of OIC to serve the spoke or the other member countries around them. This structure was also designed to ensure that the different language consideration of member countries with which the credit intelligence data is to be shared and cross-referenced would be put in place. So with that strategy, a clear vision for Obic was established along with its mission and strategic pillars. So the main vision of Obic was to enable OIC member countries to have the strongest investment, financing, and trade development in the world through best-in-class business growth and risk management intelligence system. It has 4 key strategic pillars: country development, cross-country credit and accountability and trade, operational excellence and capability building, which is, this program is part of that, which is to help develop capacity across the member countries. A very clear, structured solution framework with 5 core areas of services was identified. If you can see in that green and red band, basically capacity building and OIC integration is one of the key areas of services of Obic, providing strategic advisory as well as operational and technical advisory. You can see target audiences, you can see the clear objectives. And on the right-hand side, which is soon to come, is the actual credit intelligence delivery in the form of a ecosystem knowledge base, a cross-OIC credit registry, and a Obic bureaus, credit bureaus linkages connectivity platform. The solution of services is bundled into broadly 2 categories, as I said, capacity building and credit intelligence delivery. All of this is detailed out in the Obic's report available on I6 website. And certainly to many of you, many of these different aspects will be relevant. At the member countries level, Obic will provide deep support to selected OIC countries with limited credit reporting capabilities to set up in select cases, operate credit registries with the help of external partners. It will also develop the technology and credit data infrastructure that can be copied and shared with smaller OIC countries. And it will deliver cost-effective, advanced, and adapted technology for select countries, where the cost of having a standalone operation is not feasible. So as you can see, dear brothers and sisters, that the wide variety of needs has been identified and will be served, inshallah, by Obic. Now, what impact, material impact, we see Obic having? Given the earlier data point of what the role of credit intelligence ecosystem exists today, we have estimated that the OIC member states, by increasing the operational effectiveness of their credit intelligence ecosystem, can have a boost of an estimated private sector lending of about $670 billion a year. This is based on empirical data of other related markets who have seen an increase in private sector lending. So this is a significant potential impact that successfully executed, successfully facilitated, can really have a significant impact on the economies of the OIC. There's specific benefits to the banking and finance sectors by having effective credit reporting systems, by having a comprehensive credit information that can increase the lending volumes, reducing rates of non-performing loan, and also facilitating the unbanked and underserved, as we had mentioned before. Also, for the investment promotion agencies, the availability of comprehensive data on different sectors in OIC countries, and the other factors that include availability of profiles on OIC member countries and building knowledge sharing across and among the IPAs and OIC member countries. So with that, a quick scan through the operational, financial, and implementation plan of Obic. The business plan has a very clear 4 key pillar structure of the operating model in terms of its management and governance, in terms of the benchmark data collection process. Number 3, in terms of sophisticated customized technology architecture for the core Obic credit intelligence technology platform, and then driving market acceptance and active engagement. So these are the 4 key pillars of the operating model of Obic. There's an organizational structure that has been established, phased through the maturity as Obic develops and grows. There's a business architecture that will drive the information flow through Obic to serve the member countries. The technology part of the Obic's platform is aimed to be a powerful, future foresight considered platform. It's going to apply and incorporate AI, as you saw in terms of how AI is being applied today in decision-making and in credit intelligence, blockchain in terms of facilitating transparency, and then having really the core data be set up to facilitate a powerful future-ready platform. I will skip through some of the technological drivers. A data flow structure has been also identified. An information architecture has been also identified. Now, coming to the financial overview, to develop Obic's, these services and the platform that we have presented, it's estimated that almost $8 million in investment capital would be required, out of which about $4 million would be required to launch the project, with an additional 3.7 roughly requiring within the first year of operations. The center is expected to generate an operating profit by year 6, with the revenue approaching 4.4 million by that time. So, as you can imagine, currently the project is in its sourcing of funding phase. The funding is expected to come from host countries on a quid pro quo basis, where they cover part of the costs and expenses in exchange for their financial institutions to get Obic services for a discount. ISDB Group, OIC member countries in exchange for shares in the Business Intelligence Center are another source that has been and is being identified. And so as Obic is launched and reaches a substantial scale, the working capital is expected to be generated from its own revenue streams, as you saw from the projected funding. So to conclude, there is a clear implementation plan, a short-term plan, which include pilot projects, which this program is part of that pilot project. Shortlist for hub selection is being currently evaluated, and the funding is securing is also being in the process. There's a plan midterm and long-term, and again, all of this is also detailed in our plan. So as I conclude, I wanted to just kind of bring up a message from our messenger of Allah, the Prophet ﷺ, because what I see this project's role to be is, this is part of a legacy If we see the knowledge that such a platform and intelligence can bring to our communities economically, I would like to refer to this, a translation of the hadith of our beloved Prophet ﷺ, Sunan Abi Dawood, where the Prophet ﷺ says, when a man dies, his action discontinues from him except three things, namely perpetual sadaqah, charity, or the knowledge by which benefit is acquired, or a pious child who prays for him. So I pray for Your Excellency, yourself, and the team and IDB, that this project be that knowledge that is beneficial knowledge for the communities and becomes a source of sadaqah jariyah for all of you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rafi'uddin, for your informative session. I will open now the floor for any questions that you would like to address to Mr. Rafi'uddin. Apparently, it was a very informative session. People are okay with it. Thank you so much. At the conclusion of the first day, and on behalf of ISIC CEO and entire management, it was a great pleasure having you all today. And it's indeed, we will be more than happy to your joining us for the sessions of tomorrow. Thank you so much once again. Looking forward for seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.